On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, the Oklahoma City Thunder fall in Game 6 to the Indiana Pacers with an absolute no-show, putting a lot of pressure on Game 7.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member and beat writer for Thunder and SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, we're diving into the Oklahoma City Thunder falling to the Indiana Pacers in Game 6 of the 2025 NBA Finals to set up the best two words in sports, Game 7 in OKC on Sunday night. What a game. What a game this was not for OKC. We're here in the Pacers training room, just outside the Pacers locker room in the Gainbridge Field house. So different look in Indiana right now, but here nonetheless to talk about what was an absolute no-show for Oklahoma City. You know, there's a lot to dissect, and there's a lot of big feelings and emotions after a game like this for most of you listening. But the reality is the Thunder were never going to win this game. Like, it's hard to believe that at the end of the first quarter it was a 4-point contest, because when this game started, OKC goes on a 10-2 run to start the game, and it felt like, okay, you know, the Pacers are missing shots, the Thunder's defense is forcing misses, and they're doing their normal stuff of their defense allowing them to buy their offense some time until they settle in. And then from there, Indiana went on a 22-7 run that OKC just could not recover from as the Pacers rolled from beyond the arc. The Pacers had more urgency. They had more force. They had more desperation. They had more effort than Oklahoma City. The Pacers looked like a team that had their backs against the wall because they did. And Oklahoma City did not match that. And that's one of the big lessons from this postseason run. You know, the Thunder can still win the NBA championship. And I think that, you know, most people would pick the Thunder to win an NBA championship in Game 7. But one thing that they can't get back now with this missed opportunity is the ability to show that you can recreate a sense of artificial desperation, artificial urgency. Because we've said it on this show. The Thunder are excellent at responding when they get hit in the mouth. This team's only lost consecutive games twice all season. And those two times, once when they didn't have a center, and once whenever they had the 1 seed wrapped up. That's it. That's the entire list of consecutive losses for Oklahoma City. They've been excellent at responding to losses in the postseason with, again, not losing 2 straight games, with washing out bad games and flushing them with great ones the next outing. And they're going to have to do it again in Game 7. And I think that they will do it again in Game 7 as a spoiler alert to the prediction and preview portion of the coming days. But what they can't prove now is that they can replicate that level of urgency when times are going good. When times are going good, can they carry the momentum of a Game 5 into a Game 6? They didn't in Denver. They didn't in Indiana, you know, in this playoff run, in round 2, and now the NBA Finals. I think that the closest that they've gotten to that would be the Minnesota series that they did end in 5 after bouncing back in Game 4, following the blowout loss in Game 3, then winning Game 5 at home. But even in, you know, in that where you go from being up 2-0 against Minnesota to being blown out in Game 3 and being non-competitive in Game 3, like not having the urgency that you needed to have in that game on the road, like that's another lesson, an example of the Thunder. I don't want to say necessarily being complacent. Maybe that's too heavy-handed, but it boils down to complacency. It's no shock that like their worst outings this playoffs, Game 3 against Memphis, after being up 2-0 and doing so in historic fashion, like quite literally historic blowout fashion. Game 3, against Minnesota, we just talked about the lopsided loss. They had a letdown in Game 6 against Denver, a letdown in Game 6 against Indiana. And Denver's Game 6 never got to this proportions where it was like you were bludgeoned. Like you weren't bludgeoned on the scoreboard in Game 6 against Denver. But in Game 6 against Denver for 48 minutes felt like Denver was in control. So did this game for Indiana. So the Thunder's ability to respond has been great. They've got to learn now to take the next step and be tone setters, and that's something that they can have to do in the future. And like that's part of this, right? Whenever we talk about when the Thunder can still grow and can still improve in future years, that's not just something to say. That's not just coach speak. That's not just something to prop up their resume. There are tangible things that this team can get better in, and they can get better at understanding the moment in front of them before it's too late. Because the reason why I say they can't do it this year is Game 7 is a response. It's not a tone setting. Game 7 is there's no artificial desperation. It's just desperation. There's no artificial urgency. It's just urgency. Like that's real whole cane sugar. That's not Splenda in Game 7. They need to figure out how to use some Splenda in Oklahoma City. And they'll have to do that next season, even if they're champions. It's like, even if they're champions, they're still going to have at least one tangible way among many more that they can actually improve. And, this game was a game that the Thunder were never going to win. I mean, when Indiana wins the bench points 48-37, with the caveat, it's 48-37, with the caveat that they had 31, the Thunder did, points off the bench in the fourth quarter. In absolute garbage time. You were spotted 31 bench points in the fourth quarter, and you still lost bench points 48-37. You can't win shooting 41% from the floor, 26% from three, and 80% at the charity stripe. It's not a winning recipe to be outshot from the three-point line 15-8. It's not a winning recipe to lose the turnover battle for this Thunder team 21-10. You can't win games getting dominated on second chance points, dominated in the fast break with how this Thunder team is set up. The Thunder finally saw Indiana win a game where they scored under 110 points because they only needed 108 to win, 108-91. But there was one lead change and one tie in this game, and other than that, it felt like Indiana was completely in the lead for at least 40 of these minutes. For 40 minutes, Indiana was in control, at least. But the Thunder just could not get anything going offensively. And it starts with the fact that they didn't play to their identity. Like the Pacers only shot 41, 35, 68 shooting splits, and they only scored 108, which has been a death nail for Indiana this postseason, to score under 110, 111 points. But guess what they did do? They did make 7 more threes in OKC after starting out 0-4 from 3, and they took 18 more shot attempts. They won the possession battle, a key place where Oklahoma City usually dominates. And so we're going to talk about the Thunder's offense coming up. We're going to talk about what has to change for Game 7, and preview it all on today's show. But first, I want to say right now, but our good friends over at Car Gurus, make sure you check out today, because shopping for a car should be exciting, not exhausting. Between the confusing prices and hidden fees, it can feel overwhelming. That's why I love using Car Gurus. They help you cut through the noise and show you the best deals with full confidence. With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more new and used cars than any other major online marketplace in the U.S. They have verified dealers, provide real price analysis, and give you the tools and data to make the right choice without second-guessing yourself. If you need a deal you can trust, Car Gurus makes it easy to compare vehicles side by side with unbiased deal ratings. The best feature? Price drop alerts, so you know exactly when the perfect car is available with your budget. Plus, they have in-depth vehicle details for peace of mind before stepping into the lot. There's no wonder why, similar web estimates, traffic data shows, Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.com, cargurus.com. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Thunder basketball. We're talking Thunder 6, a Thunder team that was dead on arrival in this game at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and it went the way that we expect. Whenever in the sense of when we're talking with Tony East about previewing this game and previewing, what it would take for Indiana to pull off this upset as somebody tried to come into the training room, we talked about Indiana had to shoot the ball from three, and they had to get off to a fast start and get this crowd into it. And this crowd was excellent. Their three-point shooting was, again, 7 makes better than OKC, and that math of in and of itself gives you quite the cushion if you're the Pacers, especially if you were to take out the garbage time threes for OKC, because there weren't very many of them for Indiana in the final frame, because Indiana couldn't really score in the final frame because they were playing their reserves. Like, when you played that way, you made it too difficult for OKC to win. And on top of all that, the Thunder never found their offensive rhythm. The Thunder could not create advantage by passing the ball. And this was a 14-assist game from OKC. And there's been low assist totals before. And some of those low assist totals for OKC could previously be explained away as, well, they generated good shots. They just couldn't make good shots as a team that shot bad from three all postseason, especially on the road. Tonight was different. Tonight, Indiana flipped the script and was suffocating defensively. They were disruptive in the passing lanes. They got deflections. They made you scared to pass the basketball. And Jalen Williams even admitted that, like, they did not play to their standard. They did not trust each other to make plays. And so when the Thunder saw that the shots weren't going in from their role players and they could not get passes through a tremendous Pacers defensive effort tonight, what you saw was missed shots from J-Dub and Shai, with 8 turnovers from Shai. That'd be tied for his career high in any setting, and the most in a playoff setting for SGA. And J-Dub tossed in 3 more turnovers of his own right. And I thought that, like, both those guys had opportunities. Like, J-Dub, I thought, had a really good mindset and got to his spots particularly well, but he could not produce. I mean, he only had 16 points. And Shai missed some shots he could have hit. He was ultra aggressive in the first quarter, but it just was not his night on top of the turnovers. And their offense tonight was bailout I-Heart buckets where he's getting putbacks on the glass. He's popping in a floater as a safety net for drivers. It was heavily contested mid-range jumpers that sometimes went in, but if you're Indiana, you live with it. And it was clanked threes. That was the Thunder's offense, and you cannot win games with this level of production. You just can't. Full stop, that's what it starts with, is just the offensive production and lack thereof for OKC, who got sped up tonight. The Thunder ball handlers could not handle the pressure of Indiana's defense on ball. They didn't make good reads. And whenever the few times that passes got through against Indiana's defense, the Pacers had great closeouts to those secondary players who couldn't shake free themselves, couldn't keep the ball moving, or couldn't make open shots. So, like, it was a combination of all those three, but the two former more so than the latter. The turnovers in the backcourt are inexcusable. Like, they're inexcusable for any setting. It's especially inexcusable whenever you're playing Indiana, who's been doing this to you for now 6 straight games, and you know TJ McConnell is lurking back there. You just can't make that read. You can't make that decision. And did it cost you the game? No, but it certainly didn't help. And it certainly didn't help the momentum and give you a chance at all to chip back as a team who has made some pretty significant comebacks. But the bottom line is, this is not a half-court team. And they can't fix that about themselves heading into Game 7. Like, heading into Game 7, they're not magically going to be great in the half court. Because for as great as they've been all season long and being a 68-win team juggernaut, and as Rick Carlisle said before the game, the consistently best team in basketball this entire season, they're not going to magically be good in that particular setting, be good after made buckets against a set defense, because that's not who they've been all season long. So when you're not a half-court team, but yet have to continuously play in the half court because you can't stack together stops and you can't create turnovers and get out and run, then this is the result. Chet Holmgren can't get anything going. He cannot, finish plays at the rim. He missed an opportunity for a lob in this game, and he's missing his threes. And eventually, you think that Chet Holmgren's due to turn this around from 3, but it's getting late early. I mean, there's one more opportunity for him to do so in Game 7. And I think that Chet's been a significantly underrated storyline. If the Thunder win Game 7 and they win the championship, they could not have done it without Chet's defense, and his defensive effort has been spectacular. But offensively, he just hasn't been there this series. And from the top down, when you talk about the Thunder's formula for winning, their formula for winning is getting out and running, so they avoid half court. And their formula for winning is 2 of their top 3 guys have to have incredibly loud games. And tonight, all 3 of them were silent. All 3 of them did not have anything close to even a whisper offensively, much less a loud game. And again, we'll reference Jalen Williams' quote, the Thunder did not do a good job of trusting each other and make the next play. And J-Dub said that starts with him. He has to be better at figuring out how to put his teammates in a position and get his teammates involved. But in Game 7, with the lights as bright as they've ever been, with more pressure on this team than there's ever been on it. You have to see a third-year guy in J-Dub take over. You have to see SGA take over, regardless of how great Indiana is defensively. And you have to see Chet knock down threes. Like, that's what it's going to rely on top of getting back to basics of protecting the ball and forcing turnovers and playing with your hair on fire. The Thunder have to be able to do those things. But now you have a game 7. And look, I know that right now, everybody listening to this that's wearing Thunder-colored glasses is pretty upset because, you had a chance to win a championship tonight. You had a chance to win your first ever title, and it was right there. And you spent all day not getting any work done, daydreaming about what it would look like when the Thunder were hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy for the first time in team history. And pretty early in this game, it was clear that the Thunder did not have that chance anymore, that chance was taken away in this game. But this is why you play a series. Because if I would have told you while you were daydreaming today that all of these things were going to line up this way for Indiana, you would have said the Thunder had a 0% chance of winning this game. And that's why we don't decide things in a one-off standpoint. You play a best of 7, and Indiana has to beat OKC 4 times. And OKC has to beat Indiana 4 times, and something's got to give on Sunday. But this is why you play the regular season as hard as you did for Oklahoma City, that you ensured yourself home court advantage against any Eastern Conference team and any Western Conference foe. So this is your second game 7 of the playoffs. They've both, of course, been at home. This is why winning game 5 was so important, because now it's not the end of your season losing this game. And now you rest it all on a 1-game sample size. It's a do-or-die game. There's no excuses to not be desperate, to not be urgent, to not win the 50-50 battle, which they lost tonight, and to not close this thing out at home. And role players typically play better at home. The Thunder have proven that they not only are a great responsive team, but they're a great team at home after being shaky on the road all playoffs. They've not lost consecutive games all postseason. And so I get it. The emotions of this game kind of take you out of what you're seeing and, kind of distractions in a way. But if I told you in October that this team would take you on a ride from October till June, where they would win 68 games. It's a team record. They'd once again have an MVP who's a scoring champion. They'd make it through the rough and tumble Western Conference. They'd get a Game 7 in the Paycom Center for their first time back in the NBA Finals since 2012. If I told you that in October, you would sign on the dotted line immediately. Every team in the NBA would trade places with OKC in a heartbeat, including Indiana. You don't think the Pacers would rather play this Game 7 at home like OKC is? You don't think the Pacers would rather have the best player in this series? Everyone wants to be where OKC's at right now. They have an opportunity in front of them to do and accomplish what they set out to do in October. And the biggest thing is, if you're someone out there listening, you have all summer to be upset. The time to be mad and to complain and to be fearful for the future and to cry and to moan and to cope and to be frustrated, that's not right now. That's for the next 12 months. That's a whole summer's worth of that feeling if they lose Game 7. But you want to enjoy these next few days. You want to enjoy Game 7. You want to go out and take Game 7, because at the end of the day, all that matters is you win it. There's no apologies for having to go to a 7th game to win a series. In fact, most of the most memorable championships have a Game 7. This is the 20th Game 7 in NBA Finals history, and you can remember almost all of the other 19. For example, the best player in the world, LeBron James, or second best player, however you want to debate that, his most memorable championship is a Game 7 in Golden State, where they end up getting the win, which was the most recent Game 7 until this one on Sunday. So at the end of the day, you take this. You take the opportunity to have a Game 7 at home with the best team of the two teams, with the best player in the series, and in an environment where you've seen your rotational players step up and get the better of Indiana's rotational players. But of course, anything can happen. Of course, there's nerves. I think that it's totally rational to be nervous for Sunday, but it's the vitriol that you saw on social media following this game and during this game that I find head-scratching, because it's still out there in front of you if you're Oklahoma City. And again, you're going to have the whole summer to be vitriolous. LPS did not teach me that either, so we'll have to figure that out after the show. But it's a 1-game sample size, and either team can get red hot from three. The Thunder, luckily, can fit that description because they're not playing on the road, so that they do have a shot to be red hot from three. Indiana, of course, has a chance to be red hot from three. It's a 1-game sample size. It leaves it into variance, of course, but having the best team, best player, and home court advantage, I would go into battle with that any day of the week if I was Oklahoma City. Because you do not want to spend the future wishing you had appreciated this run more, because you just saw how hard it is to get back here. And the Thunder are still ahead of schedule. And I know that nobody likes to hear that. But again, whenever you're able to remove the emotion from these things, which I think is why Tony and I do a great job, is because we are able to remove the emotions of what's happening with the teams that we cover. You would have slapped me in the face if I told you that, yeah, you lost the Minnesota play-in game, but guess what? A couple of years, you're going to be in a Game 7 for a chance at your first ever title with all these things going in your favor. That's how quick it happened. That's how fast the ascent was. Especially if I told you, the year before the play-in year, right? Like, this team still had a schedule, and what they cannot do is they cannot panic heading into Game 7. We'll tell you why coming up. But first, I want to tell you right now about our good friends over at Wayfair. Go check out Wayfair today, because there's nothing like stepping into your outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to your personal oasis. If you wanted to update your patio this season, Wayfair has made it easy to turn any space into yours. It's comfortable, stylish, and ready for the summer. Wayfair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space. Make sure that you have conversational sets that you can sit outside with bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, everything. It's perfect for string lights, whatever you want in your backyard to have it be restored and feel comfortable for you, with a great price tag, with modern lounge chairs and everything that you need for outdoor entertainment this summer. Make sure that you act now, because delivery is fast, free, and totally hassle-free, even with larger items. Now, whether you're hosting your friends or just wanting to unwind by yourself with a book, it genuinely feels like your own private retreat if you step outside your back doors. So do not wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop for a huge outdoor selection. That's Wayfair, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you talking Thunder basketball. Look, I think that the Thunder are going to win Game 7. I think they're going to be NBA champions. But that's why you play the games. That's why you have upsets. That's why you have the thrill of sports. If this thing was totally predictable, then it wouldn't be entertaining. It wouldn't be fun. But Game 7s are usually ugly. Players usually play tight. Shots are usually missed. There's nerves. It's the winner go home energy. What the Thunder have to do is trust their identity, trust the work, trust what's gotten you here. Because if these two teams play their A-plus game, which won't happen in a Game 7, but if these two teams played their A-plus game, OKC wins. But it's any given night. It's any given Sunday in this case, much like the NFL. But the big thing for OKC is what Indiana did great tonight, which is they've got to find a way to shut down TJ McConnell, because he's making a bid for Finals MVP. Not really, but perhaps should be considered more strongly than he is. He's been awesome. And the Thunder just cannot have a answer to shut down that archetype right now, and they've got to figure it out. The zigzagging across to get to his spots in the paint has been huge. His quick release has given them problems in the mid-range, but he's been awesome. The Pacers did a much better job, and the Thunder have to find a counter to this, which is basically just relying on their active hands and ball hawking nature, and which comes with more intense defense, which they didn't have tonight. But the Pacers did a much better job of capitalizing off of cuts, as OKC would swarm entry passes. They'd have a touch pass to a cutter to have an open bucket and opportunity around the rim. Pascal Siakam just ended this game. The turnaround at the buzzer in the second quarter after his dunk through traffic on a Haliburton save out of bounds and spinorama pass to Siakam, where he finishes with 18 points, 13 boards, and three assists. The Thunder just flatly have to be better. And Haliburton, for a guy playing on a calf strain, my goodness, did he play well? Did he move well? Did he look good? And, I think that obviously he's gotten the best treatment that you can possibly get with a world-class medical staff in the NBA. Also, the adrenaline of a finals game is massive. But you've got to be prepared for the Pacers' best punch, and it's going to be fun to see what these teams do. Because if you look at the experience battle, the Pacers have quite literally been here before, where they're down 3-2 at home in the Game 6. They win Game 6, and they go on the road, and they beat Isaiah Hartenstein into Game 7 and his New York Knicks last season. So like they've followed this method, just like OKC's followed this method of, the Denver series where they lost Game 1, won Game 2, lost Game 3, won Game 4, won Game 5, lost Game 6, won Game 7. So both teams have kind of their own blueprint of how to handle this situation. And it's gonna be interesting to see what breaks first. But TJ has been awesome. Pascal Siakam has been awesome. Miles Turner has not. For Indiana, I think that their defense has been worlds better than what you would expect. Even talking to people here who cover the team every single day would say that and agree with that. And now it comes down to, again, three-point shot making. Because I think that Indiana's hope would be, and their only chance really to win Game 7 would be, that they outdo OKC by a wide margin in three-point makes. The Thunder's only hope that they can stay competitive in that category is that the best the Thunder have shot in the playoffs has been at home. So that can help them. And then it comes down to taking over if you're Chet, if you're Shai, if you're J-Dub. Like 2 of those 3 guys have to be massive. And of those 3 guys, 2 of them have 3 years or less of experience. Because Chet has 1.5 years under his belt, and J-Dub's in year 3. So I think that it can get lost once you get into the moment, once you get into the environment. You can forget that this would be an anomaly for J-Dub to pull this off as number 2 option and to step up in Game 2. It would be the exception, not the rule. But I think that the Thunder are going to do it because, until proven otherwise, you have to dance with the girl you brought to the dance. However the phrase goes, I still don't feel like it's coming out of my mouth properly. But you have to saddle up with the Thunder, who have not lost consecutive games, who have had their backs up against the wall and responded every single time, and who are capable of going out on Sunday, and if they play their best, they'll have the best singular unit on the floor, which is their all-time great defense. They'll have the best singular player on the floor, which is SGA. And if their depth can play up to par, they'll have the better depth. However, I would still lean depth to go to Indiana. But that's 2 major factors. If you have the best unit of the 2 units in basketball, and you have the best player of the, what would you say, 18 guys who will share the floor, whatever it's going to be, like, that's all you need to know. I mean, that's the winning recipe. So let's see if the Thunder can pull it off. Let's see if the Thunder can do it in a Game 7. I'm very interested to see how it goes. We're going to have a crossover with 20 East. We're going to have another bonus pod for you after practice on Saturday, where we're talking about whatever the emotions we felt listening to these guys talk after practice on Saturday. But I will tell you, if you're feeling down in the dumps right now, the Thunder are owning it. I mean, completely and totally. I mean, Shai said flat out, he said, quote, "We suck tonight," end quote. Like he admitted it. Chet admitted it, that he personally has to be better. J-Dub said the same thing. We read what J-Dub said earlier in the show. Like, they understand what they let go of. They also understand that, like, they can't dwell on it. Like, the Thunder cannot dwell on this Game 6 because you do have a Game 7. And you have to be ready to play in 2 days. And at the end of the day, no matter what road you took to get to your end destination, what matters is you got there. Right? What matters is you got to the mountaintop if you can finish this off in Game 7. Were there scary moments along the way? Yeah, this thing could have been over. Who knows what could have happened if Aaron Gordon was healthy in Game 7 of the Denver series. Like, there were scary moments along the way, just like there are for any playoff run in the history of the NBA playoffs. But it's still out in front of them for Game 7. I think that Shai clearly has to be better than he was tonight. The turnovers tonight were just not great, just flat out awful. He mentioned how the Pacers had changed how they defended him and marked it as well. To me, I mean, it felt like, of course, they weren't pressuring him 94 feet, and Shai mentioned that. I'd have to review the tape and get back to you, not to sound like a player right now, but it felt like they threw more zone at the Thunder. I feel like they also just doubled earlier onto Shai, and that instant pressure made life hard on him on top of what J-Dub said, it felt like the lingering effect of like those two guys in particular, not necessarily trusting their teammates and trying to do it themselves in this game. Hurt OKC, and I don't say do it themselves in a selfish nature or in a nature of like, well, it's the biggest moment, so I want to have the moment. I want to take over for my own selfish gain, but more so like, okay, the first few shots didn't go down from these guys. I think they might need more from us, and it felt that way because of how Shai started the game. Like Shai is usually a very passive number one option. Like in the first quarter, it's usually a feel it out process for the first few minutes, and then you look up and he has 10 somehow at the end of the first quarter. But the first few possessions, you're like, well, why isn't Shai touching the ball? Why isn't Shai getting shots up? And even that feeling carries over to the first stoppage of the game. Whereas tonight, it was like from the word go, Shai's getting shots up. From the word go, Shai's launching that thing. And I like that aggressiveness from Shai. But I do wonder, after hearing what J-Dub said, what that was about. If it was about maybe understanding the moment of being on the road and where role players have not came through for OKC, and so putting more pressure on yourself to succeed. So that's very interesting to me. But I think that ultimately, until proven otherwise, you have to believe that this Thunder team is going to do what they've done all season long. And all season long, they've been putting themselves in this position, and all season long, they've gotten their way out of it. They're like a Rocky, they're like a fireman in baseball, right? You put them into a jam, somehow they get out of it. You know, Luke Hochaver in the old 2015 Royals season. And look it up, kids. Well, we'll have another pod with Tony East. I think I'm getting kicked out of the training room. Earlier today, we were recording another show, and there was a man crawling up in the ceiling above me. You can still see the little indent there in the Pacers training room. Don't know what that's about. Don't know if that's an everyday tradition, but we do know that we'll have a secure room to podcast in for Game 7 at the Paycom Center. Hope to see very many of you there. Until tomorrow's show with Tony East, crossing it over, be good and be good to one another.